We're starting from 95.19. Yeah, so the previous background, the earlier 18 sentences, this is what I was briefly summarizing. Savitri is now getting education in various branches of learning, both secular and spiritual or esoteric. She has a comprehensive background now of all the departments of art and literature and sciences, astronomy, physics, chemistry, philosophy. Then, of course, painting, music, dance, sculpting. She is having a very comprehensive education mind. But along with that, she also has a remarkable spiritual development already. She is one, therefore, who is accomplished in what the Upanishad would say in apara vidya and para vidya. Apara, the lower knowledge, para, the higher transcendental knowledge. So she is already introduced, initiated in all the branches of knowledge in that sense at a very early stage. Now, of course, we don't die here for our aid. So, the grades by which she climbed, 7th grade, 8th grade, 10th grade, go to the university, it is not that kind of a thing. But one can perhaps summarize from the way in which the description goes that this must have been roughly from the age of 10, 12 to the age of about 20. Savitri is becoming a full grown young woman, young girl, you see, about to get married, so to say. So she is already established in that. She is, of course, given even knowledge in martial arts, in warrior craft, driving chariot, wielding weapons. I mean, she has a very comprehensive education in that sense, you see. And some of the experiences which she has, spiritual experiences, they show already her exceptional qualities. You see, for instance, we have got here on the previous page, she has knowledge, boundless knowledge, greater than man's thought, 95.16, greater than man's thought, already boundless knowledge, a happiness too high for human heart to feel and sense. And then a splendor of her native royalty, her majesty of the original birth of Savitri, of the transcendental birth, her greatness and her sweetness and her bliss, her might to possess and her vast power to love. That is the psychic quality which is already seen in the case of Savitri. Earth made a stepping stone to conquer heaven. So she is already aware in a way about her spiritual mission. Live on earth, conquer heaven. Conquer heaven for what? To bring that heaven down here upon earth. The soul saw beyond heaven's limiting boundaries. Now this is most remarkable. See, if you go outside and see the horizon line, beyond that horizon line, her soul is able to see something even beyond that horizon line. What is the unknowable, which is not something which can be grasped at all, the ineffable. She is already having some kind of understanding, knowledge of the unknowable. Her might to possess and her vast power to live, the soul saw beyond heaven's limiting boundaries, met a great light from the unknowable. See, this is the most remarkable spiritual experience. Even great rishis, even great yogis would not have that kind of a thing. Or Savitri is already there with that kind of a thing. And then, of course, she has something different apart from the spiritual realizations. Spiritual realizations, perhaps a great tapasvin, great rishi might get, would get also, but Savitri has something more than that. She wished to make all one embrace. Her concern is to embrace the entire universe, the entire creation, keep everybody in the fold of her love. She wished to make all one immense embrace that she might house in it all living things, raised to a splendid point of seeing light out and make them what for? Embrace them for what? Everybody. To make them one with God and world and her. It is that identity not only with the divine but also with his creation and with her own consciousness force. It is that sort of a spiritual realization Savitri is already having. Obviously, this is something which is absolutely exceptional. It does not happen, as I said, in the case of even great rishis or tapasvins or sannyasis or sages, whatever you want to call them. They don't have normally this sort of a thing. But Savitri is already in possession of that spiritual Shakti. Naturally, as a young girl, maybe around 20 or so, will be somebody totally different from all her companions and comrades and associates and friends and inmates. She will be somebody different. Naturally, very few will respond to her. Her demand is so great, not only spiritual, not only the worldly demand, but the spiritual demand also is so great that very few will match her, will be able to respond to her. So we have got here 95.19. Only a few responded to her call. Still fewer felt the screened divinity. Her comrades, her friends, very few see that there is something very divine in her and strove to mate its Godhead with their own, that her Godhead will become one with their Godhead, very few, approaching with some kinship to her heights. So that shows how Savitri stands apart from everybody. But then that also becomes a problem because she doesn't have a mate in that case, you see. Approaching with some kinship to her height, uplifted towards luminous secrecies, or conscious of some splendor hidden above, they live to find her in a moment's flash. Sometimes some flash will come in their mind, in their soul, in their heart. And with that flash, they would like to see, oh, what this Savitri is, what are her qualities. Very few will come to that. They live to find her in a moment's flesh. Glimpse the light in a celestial vast. That is the light in celestial vast. But could not keep the vision and the power and fell back to life's dull, ordinary tone. Naturally, they would see something remarkable in her, the great light, but they are not able to receive it, they are not able to bear it, so they will fall back upon their common, usual, ordinary things. Fell back to life's dull, ordinary tone. A mind daring heavenly experiment, growing towards some largeness, they felt near. Yes, there were few people who had some kind of a perception, and here is a mind. What does it do? That it is daring to do some heavenly experiment, growing towards some largeness, tasting the unknowns bound with eager touch. The unknowns bound, she is able to go and touch, eager touch. They still were prisoned by their human grain, so they were locked in their own swabhava, in their own character, in their own mold, in their own way of doing things in life here. Human grain, that is what we are. They could not keep up with her tireless step. The way in which she would walk, they would not be able to pace with her at all. See. In fact, that is what happens. If you have seen the mother walking in the playground or on the beach, she should really walk very, very fast. Her steps were really jammed. Yeah. You must have seen. You have not noticed, no?
I was not there that time when she was walking.
But at least the photographs are there.
Yeah. You can see the steps.
Yeah, I've seen her walking like that. It was really great to see. They still, tasting the unknowns bound with eager touch, they still were prisoned by their human grain. They could not keep up with her tireless step. Too small and eager for her large paced will. Her will also, the way we should determine and do things, it was too great for them to catch up. Too narrow to look with the unborn infinite's gaze. Their gaze of the infinite has not yet taken birth in them. The gaze of the infinite has not taken birth yet in them. And with whatever human gaze they have, what can they see about her? Too narrow. Their nature very grew of things too great. Their nature, their physical nature, their mental nature, as it feels exhausted, feels tired. They cannot cope up with the demand, so they cannot withdraw from that. Weary, could not match, their nature very grew things too great. For even the close partners of her thoughts, those who have grown with her, perhaps in the school or whatever, you see, they could not match, their thoughts could not match with her thoughts. Who could have walked the nearest to her ray, worshipped power and light they felt in her? Well, there was something still great in them. They could see some light coming from her, some power emanating from her. They could feel that, and they would worship it, they would adore it, they would really admire it also. But obviously, they cannot meet the demand of that power, of that light. Worshipped the power and light they felt in her, but could not match the measure of her soul. A friend, yes, obviously she was friend because she has embraced everybody in her embrace, in her love. A friend, and yet too great, holy to know. She walked in their front towards a greater light. Their leader and queen was the hearts and soul. She was the queen of them all. One closed their bosoms, yet divine and far. Very intimate, very human, very close, yet there was always something, that greatness in her, that divinity was there always. Admiring and amazed, they saw her stride, attacked him with a godlike rush and leap. That is the way she would move. Godlike rush and leap. Heights for their human stature, too remote. They cannot even look at those heights. Too remote. Or with a slow, great many-sided toil, pushing towards aims they hardly could conceive. Her aims were so far away from them, they could not even imagine what she is thinking of, what she is doing. Pushing towards aim they hardly could conceive, yet forced to be the satellites of her sun. See, they were so far away, yet they were sort of bound to her, the way the planets are bound to the sun. It is in that way. They cannot touch the sun, but they are bound to the sun. They move around the sun. Yet forced to be the satellites of her sun, they moved unable to forego her light. They would not like to go away from her light. They would not be able to bear it. It's okay. But still, they don't want to walk away from that light. Run away. Desiring, they clutched at her with outstretched hands or followed, stumbling in the path she made. She would walk, and along that path they would walk, but they would keep on stumbling all along. Now, obviously, this is not only the physical picture, but also the psychological, spiritual picture of all the people who are there around her. Now, she has been saying here along, they. In fact, the whole description starts, only a few responded to her call. The description is only a few. Now, who are these only a few? Well, she is a girl, but this does not necessarily mean that all the girls, they are only girls. No, they are all youth, prince, heroes, warriors, kings. They're all there around her because she has grown now to the stature of getting married, to the stage of getting married, you see. So, or longing with the self of life and flesh, they clung to her for heart's nourishment and support. It is from her they would get nourishment for their heart. The rest they could not see in visible light. What is beyond what they get from her nourishment, the food, so to say, beyond that food, they cannot see what she is. Vaguely they bore her inner mightiness, or bound by the senses and the long heart, and the longing heart, adoring with a turbid human love. They could not grasp the mighty spirit she was, obviously, or change by closeness to be even as she. They were very intimate with her. They would move along with her, around her, but that closeness would not make them any greater to equal her. In fact, he says here, are bound by the senses and a longing heart, adoring with a turbid human love. Now, obviously, these are all worldly people. They don't have necessarily spiritual experiences. They are not changed their nature. The whole full vital force is there, bubbling, rushing the life, and naturally, that turbidity of the vital will be there when they see such a beautiful girl there around, and that kind of a passion will arouse in them. So, all these people had that feeling, yet they would not be able to match with her. Adoring with a turbid human love, they could not grasp the mighty spirit she was, or change by closeness to be even as she. Some felt her with their souls and thrilled with her. Obviously, when the soul feels, there is joy in the feeling, that association. A greatness felt near, yet beyond mind's grasp. Obviously, what can mind understand? To see her was a summons to adore. It was a command. It was an adesh. It was a call also. Summon to adore her. Yes, she is the greatness. To adore her. To be near her drew a high communion, suppose, the force of union, of becoming one with each other. It is that which drew them nearer to her. To men, so men worship a God too great to know. This is what normally happens. I mean, God is so great, so different from us. All that we can do is go and worship Him. We cannot be like Him, you see. So it is like that. Savitri has become for them all a goddess. Worship her, adore her, pray to her, and that kind of a thing. But you cannot be one with her companionship. You see. So man worship a god too great to know, too high, too vast to wear a limiting shape. She cannot take a finite form. Although she has a physical form, human form, yet behind that human form is a vastness of infinity. Too high, too vast, too very limiting shape. They feel a presence and obey a might. That is the important thing. See, in other words, although they cannot equal themselves with her, they have something in them. Yes, this is somebody exceptional, somebody great, mighty, towards whom they are attracted. They see the presence. The divine himself is residing in that human person. They could feel that. So that is also a great perception already. They feel a presence and obey a might, power. Presence and power. Both of them are present in Savitri simultaneously. The divine presence and the divine Shakti, they are there together. And these people, ordinary people, they have something in them by which they perceive, yes, this lady, she is somebody different. She is holding in her physical body the divine presence itself, the divine Shakti herself is residing in her soul. They could feel that. They feel a presence and obey a mind, adore a love whose rapture invades their breast. They see her and they feel extremely happy, and in that rapture they adore her as you would adore a goddess. To a divine asha quickening the heart beats, they would like to rush and be closer to her. Divine asha, enthusiasm, a law they follow, greatening heart and life. Well, that is what a common human person would do. You are in company of somebody great, somebody exceptional. So you greaten your life, you greaten your spirit, you greaten your aspiration, your qualities of living here. A law they follow, greatening heart and life, open to a breath is a new diviner air. So what happens when you adore a person? You open yourself to a diviner air. Open to man is a freer, happier world. That is what Savitri's presence and power can do, is doing in this case. Savitri is the presence and power, and it can open man to a freer and happier world. He sees high steps climbing to self and light. Self, Atman, light, Prakash. Man, when he is close to her like that, he sees that thing. He sees high steps climbing to self and light. Her divine parts, the soul's allegiance, call, the faithfulness, the love, the adoration the soul has for something which is divine, which is something luminous, something greatening. It is towards that she is calling. Her love, her divine parts, the soul's allegiance call, their soul's faithfulness, adoration, it is that is being pulled towards her. It saw, it felt, it knew the deity. When they are drawn towards her, then it stands for soul. The soul sees, the soul feels, soul knows that here is some goddess, some divine power herself who is standing in front of them in human form. Her will was puissant on the natures as powerful. Her will was puissant on the nature's acts. Her heart's inexhaustible sweetness lured their hearts. Well, that is a sweetness. It cannot be exhausted at all. And it is that sweetness of her heart which constantly keeps on drawing them towards her. Her heart's inexhaustible sweetness lured their hearts, a being they loved whose bounds exceeded theirs. Well, human boundaries are there, but they see here somebody who has no boundaries. And it is that being which is drawn, which is getting drawn towards her. A being they loved, whose bounds exceeded theirs. Her measure they could not reach, but bore her touch. That is not a small thing to bear her touch. So they have already some capacity that they can bear her touch. But bore her touch, answering with the flowers answer to the sun, the way the sun comes out and the flower responds to the awakening ray, it is in that manner they are responding to this sun. That Savitri is. Savitri, she is the daughter of sun god himself. That is what Savitri means. So it is to that sun god's daughter they are opening like a flower. Answering with the flowers answer to the sun, they gave themselves to her and asked no more. So that is the complete surrender. Yes, do whatever you like. We are here to adore you, to worship you. They gave themselves to her and asked no more. There is no question of demand anything at all from her, because that itself comes automatically, so to say. One greater than themselves, too wide for the can, one that stands for Savitri herself. Savitri, who is greater than them, all these people who are drawn towards her, too wide for their ken, for their understanding, for their grasp. Their minds could not understand, nor wholly know. Their lives replied to hers. Their mind could not understand, yet their lives replied to her life. There is something, prana, life force is there, which opens out to her presence there. Their minds could not understand nor wholly know. Their lives replied to her, moved at her words. What she would say, they would follow. They felt a Godhead and obeyed a call. Well, I would say that this is not a small thing. Who would feel the presence of the divine and follow his call? Very few. But here are already great souls who can perceive that there is something different here and who can follow what she is asking them to do. One greater than themselves, too wide for their ken. Their minds could not understand, nor wholly know. Their lives replied to hers, moved at her words. They felt a Godhead and obeyed a call. Answered to her lead, and did her work in the world. What she wanted them to do in the world, they did. What she wanted them to follow, they are following. Answered to her lead and did her work. Their lives, their natures moved, compelled by hers. So this is a kind of divine tyranny. See, you have to follow that. You are but following it. It is a divine tyranny, divine dictatorship, or whatever you call it. But that is very happily accepted, because you see something great in that, a kind of a reward you immediately feel getting from that. Their lives, their natures moved, compelled by her, as if the truth of their own larger selves. That is the reason why they are drawn towards her. Because the truth which is there in them, it is that which is demanding that. As if the truth of their own larger self put on an aspect of divinity to excel them to a pitch beyond their earth. By her presence, something has come out from them, the aspect of divinity has emerged in them, and it is that aspect of divinity which is rushing towards her. And that aspect of divinity is willing to accept whatever she is going to command them to do this. So that dictatorship is a very acceptable dictatorship for them because by her presence the aspect of divinity has emerged from within them. You see. To excel them to a pitch beyond their earth, they felt a larger future meet their walk. Yes, they have been moving around in this world, but here in the present, they see a sublimer goal in their journey. They see something awaiting for them in the future. They felt a larger future meet their walk. She held their hands. She chose for them their path. Of course, it's not physically, but what it means, she is guiding them. She is taking them on the path. Her divine presence is taking what has responded from within them, the divinity which was lying them, which has come out because of her. It is that divinity within them. It is that she is taking in her hand and taking them to their goal. They felt a larger future meet their walk. She held their hands. She chose for them their paths. Chose for them their paths. This is important. Their path. It is not that she is going to take everybody along the same path. You have a different path. I have a different path. He has a different path. She has a different path. Each depending upon the quality of his soul, the demand of his soul, the nature of his soul, the swabhava of his soul. That's what we call swabhava. So each swabhava, each character, each individuality has his own objective in existence here, his own will, his own aspiration, and it is that which is getting separately, individually fulfilled by her. So this is a very important phrase. Chose for them their path. You are here, psychic, follow the psychic path. You are here, vital, follow the Rajasic path. You are here, mental, spiritual path. Each one is following separately each path. She held their hand, she chose for them their path. They were moved by her towards great unknown things. Faith drew them, and a joy to feel themselves hers. Well, what is it that is prompting them? Some kind of an inner knowledge which cannot be expressed, and it is that faith which is making them closer to her, which is leading them. Faith drew them means there is something which tells me, yes, this is the thing which I should do. I am not able to explain it, I am not able to mentalize it, rationalize it, not necessary also, but it is prompting me, it is driving me. That is the faith. Faith drew them, and the joy to feel themselves hers. They lived in her. They saw the world with her eyes. Well, it's not a small thing to be able to see the world with her eyes. See, that already means a great accomplishment in the soul, in the character. They lived in her. They saw the world with her eyes. Some turned to her again the nature's bent. Well, not that everybody is willing to accept what she is going through. Each one has his own character. But there is something still in them which drives them. And they are willing to follow what she will tell. Some turn to her again their nature's bent. The nature may be rebellious also. Yet there is something which prompts them to follow her. Divided between wonder and revolt, that's the wonder. She is a wonderful person there, and at the same time, too great. I cannot accept it. Some sort of ego is hurting me. So I can't easily accept her, you see. Divided between wonder and revolt, drawn by her charm and mastered by her will. So that mastery, you see, I mean, human nature cannot easily accept that mastery, you see. So that there is sort of revolt also. Drawn by her charm and mastered by her will, possessed by her striving to possess. Impatient subjects, their tired, longing hearts, hugging the bonds close to which they most complained. You see, they want that bond. They want to be tied with her, and yet at the same time complain, this yoke on my head, this girl imposing her foot on my breast. It is that kind of a thing that revolt is there, you see. They want that bond, yet at the same time there is a sort of revolt. See, that is what it begins, no? Wonder and revolt. Again, they are against their nature's bent. These are the examples he's giving of that nature's bent. Impatient subjects, their tired, longing hearts, hugging the bonds close to way for which they most complained, murmured at a yoke they would have wept to lose. Yes, I don't like this yoke, but at the same time, I will not be happy if the yoke is removed from my shoulder. I don't know, that is how the bullock feels when the yoke is put on his neck. They would have wept to lose the splendid yoke of her beauty and her love. Indeed, who would like to lose that yoke? To be away from that yoke, not to accept that yoke, you see. Her yoke of beauty and love. Others pursued her with life's blind desire. They don't know what they want, but they feel something in her and they pursue her. And claiming all of her as their lonely own. There are people who like that all that the mother is there should be mine. That kind of possessiveness is there. And claiming all of her as their lonely one, that none should share what she is going to give me. Hasten to engross her sweetness meant for all. It cannot be only for XYZ, person A, person B, person C. It is meant for all. So if a person A wants everything of her only for himself, she is not going to accept that. As earth claims light for its lone separate need, this is what happens. Earth is claiming light from the sun for its own need, demanding her for their soul jealous clasp. They ask from her movements bounded like their own, and to their smallness craved a like response. Or they replied that she surpassed their grip and hoped to bind her close with longing cords. They want to tie her in a knot, but she is going to escape. They repined that she surpassed. They don't feel happy that she is not there anymore in their class, you see. They feel uncomfortable, in fact, repined, and hope to bind her close with longing cords. They would not like to lose the grip that she has on them, and yet they would like to be bound by her. Or finding her touch desired too strong to bear, the other extreme. They blamed her for a tyranny they loved. A tyranny they love. And yet they complain. This girl, so imperious, so imposing, you see, shrank to them. They blamed her for a tyranny they loved, shrank into themselves as from too bright a sun. This is what happens. When the sun is too bright, we would go and try to sit under the shade of a tree. That is what happens, you see, under the shade of a tree. They blamed her for a tyranny they loved, shrank into themselves as from too bright a sun, yet hankered for the splendor they refused. They don't want her, yet they hanker for it. See, this is the conflicting nature of man, because there is something which is desiring, something which is aspiring, but human nature is a mixed. The vital is there in us, the lower nature is there in us, which cannot accept too great a light immediately, and therefore it shrinks from that all the while. Yet hankered for the splendor, they refuse, angrily enamored. You see, they are attracted to us and yet angry. Angrily enamored of a sweet, passionate ray, the weakness of their earth could hardly bear. Obviously, what can earth bear? They longed but cried out at the touch desired. They desire her touch, but the moment she touches them, they cry out. The weakness of their earth could hardly bear. They longed but cried out at the touch desired, inapt to meet divinity so close. Yes, because they are not accustomed to it. They are not used to it at all, you see. They fret and complain all the while, they repine all the while. They cannot accept. Inapt to meet divinity so close, intolerant of a force they could not house. It is that force, capital force, Shakti, the supreme divine Shakti herself, they cannot bear. Some drawn unwillingly by her divine sway, endured it like a sweet but alien spell. There are souls who go close to her, they endure to some extent because of spell. You see. But most of them are thrown back. You see. Alien, which is not familiar to them, different, outside, foreign to them. Endured like a sweet but alien spell, unable to mount to levels too sublime. They yearn to draw her down to their own earth. They want her here, but they are not able to bear her. Or forced to center around her their passionate lives. They hope to bind to their hearts human needs, her glory and grace that had enslaved their souls. Well, this is the conflicting nature of man, unprepared human nature which cannot accept the divine presence and the divine might. She is there, you want it all, but you are not prepared, you are not ready. The divine is willing to give you all that thing, but you are not grown to that extent. And you will stop with that. The new section can take next time. So this is how the growth of the flame is taking place, and there is a certain logic in giving such elaborate description. The story, so to say, is moving very fast. The episodes are rushing one after the other. First we had Savitri taking birth, the seasons, Savitri taking birth, she is growing, she is getting education in all the branches, human knowledge, spiritual knowledge, and with all those things established in her, she finds herself, she doesn't find, but we find that she is somebody totally different. She becomes unapproachable. We want her, but we cannot be close enough to her. We are not ready, we are not prepared to bear her presence. That is our condition. Now, this is going to lead to a problem. Her greatness, her mightiness, her sweetness, her love is going to lead to a problem. The problem is Savitri has grown up into full maidenhood and she has to get married. But there is no person who would claim her hand in marriage. How is Savitri going to find her mate? Her husband, basically. So that is the whole logic, there is a certain meaning, purpose in describing all the details also, you see. Because the story is moving forward very fast, very rapidly, with a purpose also, you see. And later on, of course, then her father tells to Savitri, Savitri, look, as no prince has come forward claiming your hand in marriage, you are now free to find one whom you would like. who would be your perfect mate. You choose your own husband now. And then Savitri sets on a long journey, going from place to place, from country to country, from region to region, traveling day after day, month after month, maybe for a year. And then ultimately she comes to the Shalva woods and there suddenly, then suddenly she meets Satyavan there. Now, see, this is important. She meets Satyavan. They immediately recognize each other's ancient identity, who he is, who she is. They immediately recognize. Therefore, all the qualities which are described here, that she is this, etc., etc., they are also indirectly the quality of Satyavan. It is he who can match her in every respect what we have here. So the poet did not describe the qualities of Satyavan in that sense. He has already done all that thing for Satyavan here, because he is going to be her partner, her equal, and therefore this also applies to Satyavan, that she is the one who is going to bear all that thing. You see, people repel, they recoil from Savitri. Satyavan is not good. He is rushing towards her, and they have recognized their identity, their oneness already here, and they find each other as fit, appropriate partners for carrying out the work for which they had taken human births. So indirectly, we also see here a sort of a description of the qualities which Satyavan is having here.